Another fine day, another wonderful day, another beautiful day. And since when last did I do an interview sitting here? I don't even remember. That's how busy, that's how crazy life is happening for me. Traveling around, doing things that I like, enjoying myself. But at the end of the day, I miss the studio. I sometimes I just sit there, I'm like, damn, I can't wait to go back and sit here and have conversations and talk, and especially talk to people who have done things, are doing things, and when you look at them, when you listen to them, you know they're planning to do better for our community. It's going to be another fine conversation, especially because I have a brother in the house, and he doesn't even know what he did, but him wearing blue, I was like, why did I don't wear my own blue? My brother, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Wow. It's nice having you. I remember I met you. I think for the first time like 3 or 4 years ago.
That's about right.
Yeah, and I actually just admired you because I saw the gentleman doing the things that I was like, okay, I think he can be a role model. And not knowing you were that close to, because Mola is very, very close to me. He's a
Correct.
friend, he's a sister, and everything.
Yeah.
And then today you took it to another level. I'm like, okay, now I have to start visiting.
Yeah.
Welcome to Toride.
Thank you. It's a pleasure being here.
Wow, boss, I don't know where to start, but I usually don't like to introduce people because I prefer for them to just introduce themselves and just put themselves out there the way they prefer. Tell us about you, your names, where
Sure.
you're from, and what you do.
So I'll give all three of my names because I actually use them.
Mm-hmm,
Ashu Ngale Balemba.
mm-hmm,
So my Cameroonian brothers and sisters typically call me Ngale.
mm-hmm,
But most of my American buddies will call me Ashu.
mm-hmm. Which do you prefer?
I prefer Ngale. For
Okay.
those who I'm close to, I prefer Ngale.
I don't want to ask why. God, it sounds really good. So, what you do? Where you from and what you do?
Uh, where I'm from, well, I mean, I'm Cameroonian
Mm-hmm,
and I'm Bafo
mm-hmm,
originally. Um, I've been in the US. Oh my goodness, I can't even remember
mm-hmm,
how long it's been now, but it's been a while.
mm-hmm.
And I am an attorney.
Wow. Now, I think you are actually here and at the right time because I've been wanting to have someone who can just talk to us about things about the law. Sometimes you see it's too many questions. However, before we get to that, I really feel like so you grew up in Cameroon, Kumba Boya, where? Tell us a little bit about that.
I grew up in Yaoundé.
Mm-hmm,
I went to Bishop Rogan
mm-hmm,
for Form 1 to 5, and
mm-hmm.
then I went to Sacred Heart for high school.
Oh, okay. How you say you left Cameroon a long time ago? You miss Cameroon. You go to Cameroon every now and then.
I visit. Most of my family is still back in Cameroon, and
Mm-hmm.
so I visit as often as I can.
Can
But having a family makes everything a lot more expensive. So we go when we can.
okay. Bishop Rogan, the popular Bishop Rogan.
Yes,
How does it feel coming from there?
it was an experience.
Mm-hmm.
I truly wanted to become a priest when I went there.
Mm-hmm.
And then God showed me that there were other ways to serve Him, and so I
Now I know where the good man, the quiet man, the organized man. I know where it's coming from. God, wow, that's wonderful. So what happened? Why did you? How did it happen? Like moving from okay wanting to be a priest and then now you're an attorney.
I believe that God shows you who you are by the experiences that that you go through in life.
Mm-hmm.
I always knew I wanted to talk to people. I always knew I loved solving problems.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and because of my faith, I believed that I wanted to become a priest.
Mm-hmm.
So I went into the seminary and I wanted to become a priest. And then I realized that I was very, very good in the sciences,
Mm-hmm.
and I had a very strong love for technology. Because of that love, I realized that I wanted to do something else. I spoke to a priest, and he told me that there are other ways to serve. So when I got out, I went to school and I actually did mechanical engineering. and I was a mechanical engineer, worked for about 5 6 years, and I realized that I was more interested in solving people problems than I was in solving machine problems. And that's when I decided to move into law, and I have not looked back since.
Wow. Now, you say you are an attorney. Did I pronounce it
Correct.
correctly?
Yes.
Now, what's the difference? Because where I come from, we say lawyer, lawyer, lawyer everywhere. Oh, my uncle na lawyer, my papa na lawyer. Can you just?
They are effectively they are synonyms for each other.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I call myself an attorney, sometimes I call myself a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
Really, you're saying the exact same thing. I think the most appropriate term for someone like me would be a trial attorney. That is my main focus. I am very trial focused. So, all the work that I've done as an attorney since I became an attorney has been litigation based. So, it's always geared towards litigation and towards the trial end of things. So, you technically could call me a trial attorney, but I'm just a lawyer.
Can you explain what a trial attorney does?
Yeah, so a trial attorney focuses on what it takes to win in trial. So, for instance, when I meet someone once asked me, why did I become a lawyer? Right? And my response to them is, you can have one event that happens and 10 people can witness that event, right? And all 10 people go in their 10 different directions. And you come and ask those 10 different people about that event. Even if every single one of them is trying to be as honest as they can be, they're going to give you 10 different perspectives of that one event.
Yeah.
Okay? A lawyer's job, especially a trial attorney's job, is to be able to come before 12 completely independent people who are not there and give them only one perspective and get them to all agree on that one perspective. And I always found that very intriguing. I found it very challenging because if 10 people who witnessed the event can have 10 different perspectives of that one event, how can one person come into a room and convince 12 completely different people to see it from only one perspective?
When do we actually need a trial attorney?
That's a really good question. I would say you need a trial attorney from the beginning. I think one of the things that my clients benefit from when they choose me is that my mind is so geared towards what would happen in trial that I'm asking the questions and preparing myself for the eventuality of going to trial. Now, most cases don't go to trial, but the beauty of it is when you have that mindset, it makes you a whole lot more lethal when it comes to the negotiation, right? Because you know what you're talking about and you have the heavy boomstick in the back of, well, we can go to trial for this. So
Why do you think it's important to work with someone like you, like to have it? Because sometimes people feel like, you know what, I think I can argue for myself. I think I can go there and how to think myself. Why do you think it's important to? I don't want to call it a mistake, but to just make sure you're talking or working with someone like you. Someone, yeah, someone who has a problem is, yeah.
that is also another very good question.
Mhm.
The law isn't controlled by robots.
Mhm.
It's controlled by human beings.
Mhm.
Okay. So the first thing that I would say is, who are you more likely to convince? You know, a stranger who you've never met, a brother who you've known all your life, you know, or even an acquaintance who at least you know their habits. So one of the first advantages that an attorney is going to have is they deal with the judge, you know, who you're going to interact with on a regular basis.
Okay.
They tend to deal with the attorneys that you're dealing with, right? And so they know their quirks, they know their tendencies, and easier for someone who knows the system to be able to adapt the system for your benefit. Now, that's the realistic perspective. The educational and analytic perspective is that as an attorney, we are trained to be able to see the logical loopholes. We're also trained to be able to communicate in a way that's effective. So while we may see a complex situation, for instance, because of my background in engineering, I also did patent litigation. Now this deals with I don't know if you know what a patent is, but when people make inventions, sometimes what they will do is they will write out the patent
Yeah.
so that everyone knows this invention is mine. Okay. And these patents can be very, very complicated. Well, we could have just gotten the engineer to come and explain it, but what typically happens is that people in their own fields it tends to be harder for people in their own fields to be able to explain to the everyday person about complex situations. That's something that an attorney is trained to do.
Wow.
Lastly, bias. You will see most attorneys will not even represent themselves because we as humans have a bias towards a situation that has occurred to us, right? We have an emotional bias. We have, and so rather than thinking about what is in our best interest to win in a particular thing, we sometimes get affected by our own biases, right? And so having an attorney who is not only trained in the law, who is not only adept at analytical analysis, right? And who is not only familiar with the people in the system that you have to deal with, but who is also not affected by your bias. So they can best see a route to the solution that you're looking for.
I think my next question is going to be when is it best to get an attorney? Even when you're not in trouble, or wait for when you get in trouble, then you get one.
So that depends. If we're talking about a criminal situation, get an attorney immediately. My advice to people is do not talk to anyone in a criminal situation without getting an attorney. You know, sometimes people will say, well, if I get an attorney, it will make me look guilty. And this is what I explain to my clients. It is a lot easier for me to explain to a jury why you chose to get an attorney before talking to anyone than it is for me to explain to a jury why you went and said something to an officer which completely makes you look guilty. Okay? Remember, these officers are trained to be able to extract from you the most damning things. You're not trained to be able to handle them. So while you may be good at it, it's just better to get an attorney.
Wow, I think this is interesting, and I beg you once a year from time to time, because these are the people in the community who I feel like we need to talk to them every now and then, especially because we come from a community. I don't want to say we don't have wealthy people, but we don't have people like him who are ready to just serve, to just share information, especially information like this. Boss, one other thing I want to know is, I think let's take a short break, and then I'll go ahead and share the video. Go ahead also and share the video if you have time. That way, and also if you have any questions, if you have any concerns, any questions, you want his contact information, comment section or inbox me or any of those things. By the way, it will be and the edit as soon as the post online say, attorney do it, lawyer do it. I don't bring oh God. Okay, for those who are watching, that was Iyasu. Iyasu is actually the Southwest fabric. I don't want to say the Southwest fabric for Togo or Kente, but that's probably the easiest way to describe it. Yeah, it's out there. It's beautiful, and start you guys. We need to start talking about this. We need to start sharing information about it. Start using gifts and every other thing. If you want a piece, contact me or go to Facebook and look for Micheline Ewang. I think she has a few pieces in America. Boss, how did you? What does it take to become an attorney?
So in the US, you have to have a bachelor's degree,
Mhm,
and after that, you can do 3 years of law school.
mhm,
Once you've completed your 3 years of law school, then you take the bar exam
mhm.
for whichever state that you're going to practice in.
Wow. Come again. Did you say 3 years of?
3 years of law school after your
Mhm.
bachelor's degree.
Wow.
Yes.
And does it matter if you're a citizen or not?
No, actually not.
Mm,
You can study the law whether you're a citizen or a non-citizen.
mhm,
To be able to work,
mhm,
generally you have to be legalized,
mhm,
right? Now, you don't technically have to be a citizen, but
mhm.
it does get a little bit more complicated if you're not.
Oh, okay. Now, the other thing I wanted to ask you is, can you just represent everyone, or you just have specific clients that you can represent?
It's kind of the question that you would ask a doctor,
Mhm,
right? Um, a doctor is a doctor is a doctor, except they're not, right?
mhm,
There's a difference between a pediatrician. There's a
mhm,
difference between a pediatrician and a gynecologist, right?
mhm,
They specialize in different things.
mhm.
Now, as attorneys, we are trained generally,
Yeah.
but then our experience gives us focus.
Mm. So your focus is?
So I like to call myself a trial attorney because I've
Mhm,
had a lot of focus,
mhm,
right? I started off as a white collar litigation attorney with a
mhm,
big law firm.
mhm,
I also did patent litigation. And then I decided I wanted to do something more personal.
mhm,
So I moved to the prosecutor's office
mhm,
and I worked as a prosecutor.
mhm,
Now I have my own firm and I do defense law for people who have been criminally accused.
mhm,
I also do family law, immigration,
mhm.
and I do tend to do more civil things too, but it depends on it. That's a case by case basis.
Why did you choose to have your own firm?
I guess it was just time.
Mhm,
The you get to a point where you have seen others doing it, and
mhm.
you ask yourself the question, well, I can do that too, and so I guess it was my time.
The other thing I wanted to ask you, do you think there's any advantage if someone from our community was working with someone like you? Because maybe because you understand them, you understand where they're coming from, you probably easy understand their story, maybe even their accent, and so forth.
Absolutely. It's
Mhm,
exactly like what I was saying when it comes to having worked with the judges and the other attorneys.
mhm,
Understanding a person's culture gives you better context
mhm,
to be able to explain to a jury, a panel of jurors,
mhm,
or
mhm,
to the opposing counsel
mhm.
where you are at,
Yeah.
right? Um, what someone from our community might interpret
Mhm,
from a particular situation that happens is completely different from what a typical born American
mhm,
is going to interpret from that situation.
mhm,
So there is an advantage to having come from our society
mhm,
and being able to understand where we come from
mhm.
and then being able to communicate that effectively.
Wow. Now, if someone wanted to use your services, what are they supposed to do?
Well, you can reach out to me.
Mhm,
My email is ashu at balimbalaw.com,
mhm,
or you can give my office a call at 972-302-2956.
Now let's get to the bushful question. Is this a good paying career? Like if someone wanted just to do this for the money, would you advise them to?
Oh, I love that question. You see, this is something that most of us from abroad are not taught. Okay. So, law spans the gamut. You can have lawyers who are earning $40,000 a year or maybe even less because, they've chosen that they want to do something simpler, to those who are millionaires. Okay. So the first thing you have to determine is what you want to do. The second thing is where you want to work. So, for instance, big law tends to be where you get the most money. All right. But to be able to get into big law, you generally have to be in a top law school, with very, very good grades, et cetera, et cetera. Right. That doesn't mean there are other ways of getting
Getting the
in,
yeah.
but those are typically the easiest ways of getting in, right? Now, the alternative is working on your own. Working on your own can also be very profitable, but it's important to be able to, number one, know your craft, and number two, make the clients, or be able to attract clients in.
Now, I asked you a question earlier. I don't know if I got the correct answer, or maybe my question I did not frame it the right way. The question was supposed to be: people tend to only look for lawyers when they are in trouble. Is it preferable to look for a lawyer only when you're in trouble, or just get you a lawyer, build a relationship with them, and then once you get in trouble, or even before you get in trouble, because sometimes you want to do something, you need to talk to someone, talk to your lawyer. Hey, I'm planning to do this. Is it legal? Is it not legal? And so you don't get yourself into trouble before you start looking for. So
I
what would you suggest?
understand.
Yeah.
Typically in the corporate world,
Mm-hmm.
most corporate most companies, especially the big ones,
Mm-hmm.
have attorneys or law firms at their disposal.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, some of them even have attorneys in-house.
Mm-hmm.
For a regular everyday person, I would say if you know an attorney, that's a great thing. Feel free to pick up the phone and call them and ask them questions before you want to take any steps. Um, but generally speaking, it's expensive to be able to talk to an attorney,
Mm-hmm.
right? Especially if you don't know them personally
Mm-hmm.
and stuff. So it sounds counterintuitive, but I would say get an attorney when you need the attorney.
Now, for a community like ours, would it be okay for people to just reach out to you when they want?
Absolutely. If I'm able to help,
Mm-hmm.
I will be more than happy to.
Now, I think last time I we did a graduation for I think one young guy who's probably it's supposed to become an attorney. I don't know if they took the exams already, but like, do you guys have like a system in place or a group where you mentor others, or others maybe someone mentored you?
See, I'm looking for something like that,
Mm-hmm.
especially for our community.
Mm-hmm.
I have groups that I'm a member of, but mostly they are American and they deal with,
Mm-hmm.
their bar associations.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to be able to talk to some of ours, right? And really help guide them through.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we have so many people who have done so many different things in this country, whether it's pharmacy, medicine, et cetera, et cetera. And I wish I had had one of our own people to guide me when I was getting into law.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I was very fortunate and things worked for me the way,
Mm-hmm.
they were meant to, but it's a tricky it's a tricky road to navigate.
Wow. Now we have so many, like you said, pharmacies, so many people in the health field. Now it's the IT. Why it seems like it's a little bit difficult for us to have like as many lawyers as I wish we had. Is there any reason? Is it like it's difficult to become a lawyer, or what could be the reason?
I think it's just that people haven't thought about it.
Mm-hmm.
I think people don't realize that there is no industry in the entire United States
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't have law.
Mm-hmm.
So no matter what your interest is, whether it's health, whether it's IT, whether it's,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't matter. There is there are legal ramifications in that field, right?
Mm-hmm.
And um the beauty of being a lawyer is that I told you one of our main trainings is we are taught to solve
Problem.
problems, which is why you see in a lot of big companies who ends up being the CEO. When you go and look at their background,
Mm-hmm.
they're an attorney,
Yeah.
right? Who ends up going to Congress? A lot of them attorneys. Attorneys are very flexible
Yeah.
because their training is to be able to problem solve, but they also have backgrounds. They have those bachelor degrees that
Mm-hmm.
they did before,
Mm-hmm.
and those backgrounds enable them to be able to move into different fields.
Mm-hmm.
So I know of people who did their law degree and didn't do a single day of law,
Wow.
right? They ended up integrating into a company
Mm.
and moving their way up.
Almost every journalist on CNN and Fox News
Is a
has.
former attorney.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow. That, so, what would you say to someone who is interested in becoming an attorney?
I would say please, please move forward
Mm-hmm.
and don't be shy to reach out.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions that I can help you with, I
Mm-hmm.
would be more than happy to.
Well, boss, let us take another small break and then we come back to wrap
You
up
know
this.
what? I was watching this video on Torty, and his name is Charles, and he's of the CHN Advisors, and he has like so much knowledge. And I felt like now that I'm, kind of diving into this new venture and things like that, that my taxes are going to be important. But more so, like the man talks about financial wealth within our community and how to build it, and I feel like one, I need to watch more of his videos to kind of get some more information and background. But he's been doing this for 26 years. So he started, I think, in Africa, and then he said he went to Europe, and now he's in the U.S. And it's cool because he's basically trying to educate us in things about tax strategy and building wealth and basically being a financial advisor. It's something that as a business owner now it's important because you have to take pride in that because you really can't trust what other people say and the advice of the past because everything is changing so much. So do me a favor, go watch these videos and then let's dial back in. Let's see what we can figure out.
Wow, this is interesting. For the first time in a long time, I don't even know what questions to ask. I'm stuck. I'm even scared. Don't go and ask one question and then before you know it, there's a
Nothing
letter.
to be scared of.
Yeah, but honestly, I feel like our people have this phobia for lawyers, for law, for anything court. What will you say about that?
It's not just our people.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people in even in the American culture,
Mm-hmm.
wherever you go, they there's this concept of lawyers being cheats, lawyers being liars. In
Mm-hmm.
fact, I remember before I went to law school, someone got me this gift. It was a book, 101 lawyer jokes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was just continuous insults of lawyers. But the truth of the matter is, there is nothing in this country that you want to do that will not require you understanding the law. And so, for those who have the courage, I would definitely suggest getting into it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very, very fruitful occupation.
Mm-hmm.
It does pay well, and it also opens up your avenues. How many occupations can tell you that, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
um okay, you're a doctor, great, and then you stay a doctor and you continue being a doctor and you end up dying a doctor, right?
Mm-hmm.
um Lawyers, more often than not, right, may choose to remain lawyers,
Mm-hmm.
but they have that option
Mm-hmm.
where they can diversify and change and become something else. So it's definitely something to think about.
Boss, damn, I had this question. Think. Yep, yep. The truth is, I'm excited. He's a brother. He's a brother, and when you talk to him and you listen to him talk about our community and wanting to serve and wanting to help better our community, and he's not just talking; he's doing. He's talking and doing. I'm just happy. Anybody who knows me knows that's me. Once I meet someone who is passionate about our community, I just want to talk and talk and talk and talk to them. But yeah, one thing is certain: we're going to bring our brother back to have this conversation, to talk about other things. We're going to put it out there, have people suggest maybe topics, maybe if you have concerns for people, and also most importantly, we'll bring him back here when we have situations in the community where we need clarification. Like he said, it's preferable to talk to someone who understands the in and out of how laws work rather than you just, that's what we do most of the times, you just second guess. Oh, maybe. And we are so strong with our opinions. So yeah, from time to time we're gonna have him here answer questions. Um, Boss, the law in Cameroon and the law in America, is there any difference? Is it similar, or how does it work?
So the law in Cameroon is actually more relatable to the law in Louisiana.
Okay.
Um, so for most of the US, we follow it's closer to the Anglo-Saxon version of legal prudence,
Mm-hmm.
right? In fact, our common law
Mm-hmm.
is based off of the English common law
Mm-hmm.
system. Louisiana follows the French system. Now
Wow.
they are still subject to the United States Constitution,
Mm-hmm.
so it's kind of a meld,
Mm-hmm.
but it would be the closest thing to our own system.
Well, do you think it's important for every person that comes to America to at least find time to want to know a thing or two about their law, how it works?
Absolutely, I cannot stress this enough.
Mhm,
You don't know what you don't know,
mhm,
and you don't know how that is dangerous,
mhm,
right? Um, all it takes is making one mistake, guys. One mistake, and your entire life in this country
business.
can be jeopardized, right? And that is the reason why I'm reaching out to all of you right now. Don't hesitate. Don't make that mistake of, oh, maybe I don't need a lawyer. Maybe I can do this on my own.
Mhm.
No, 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 no. Reach out. I guarantee you this. You reach out to me, even if I'm not the person who can handle your particular problem, I will find you someone who can. So don't hesitate.
Wow. That's interesting. Guys, go ahead and share the video, and like I said, contact phone number and everything is going to be in the comment section. Reach out to him, talk to him, talk to a brother. Now, that's one other concern our community has. People sometimes feel like, oh, I don't want to talk to him because before you know it, my whole story or my whole news or my whole situation is going to be out there. How will you address? Yeah.
I wish I had brought my wife.
Mhm,
My wife's biggest issue, I don't know if it's an issue, but
mhm.
she talks about it frequently. She'll tell her friends, if you want me to know something, don't tell Ngale. Because if you tell Ngale, I'm not going to know.
Well,
Right? It is our job to keep what you tell us confidential.
mhm,
Okay. I have no interest in having that conversation with anybody else.
mhm,
And I learned that from my father, who is a gynecologist.
mhm,
We never knew anything about his patients,
mhm,
right? Didn't matter how much you asked, he would never tell you, right?
mhm,
And so it's the same thing with us.
mhm.
Number one, we want to win for you,
Yeah.
all right? Part of winning means keeping quiet,
Mhm.
right? We don't need your business outside,
Outside. Yeah.
right? And in the few occasions where we want your business outside, like you see sometimes lawyers will go and talk to journalists,
Mhm,
we will talk to you first.
mhm,
We will explain to you why there is a benefit in
It.
that situation
Mm-hmm.
of going to the public.
Public.
Okay. But I can assure you, we don't.
Wow. Boss, is there anything you maybe feel like we needed to talk about that I did not bring up?
No, I think we've addressed a lot of situations.
Mm-hmm.
One thing you guys will find out talking with attorneys is that one of our favorite phrases is "it depends." Okay, most of what we do is fact based.
Mm-hmm.
So I loved your questions because they were very general and they allowed me to answer without using "it depends."
Mm-hmm.
Right, but I would love to. Um, Talk about specific situations that people have,
Mm-hmm.
and address them to the best of my ability.
Yeah. Now, the use of the word alert. Now, Tino will do a more often for Toride because that's why we have him. You see people in the comment. We never talk pigeon for this show since. Now I know why I was stressing. I will say this one in pidgin.
Uh-huh.
So we don't see we have a community now where people just feel like, okay, I can just use alert and then say whatever I want to say.
Mhm.
Explain what we wait till it happen, Abek.
See, your words are powerful.
Yes.
They are very, very powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Be very careful with them. Before I became a lawyer,
Mm-hmm.
if you go and look at my Facebook page right
Mhm.
now, you will see all kinds of things, I was always on Facebook and all
Mhm.
whatnot. I'm guessing my last post on Facebook was the first year I got into law school.
Wow.
You start to realize that, number one, not that many people need to know your entire life's business.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, it can come and hurt you later on down the line.
Wow.
If it's not absolutely necessary, there's no need for it to be out there.
Wow. So even all the alleged that we use is not going to protect you.
Well, I mean, of course it can, but be wary.
Yeah.
Be wary is all I would say.
What are some of the common mistakes you've seen people in our community do every now and then?
With regards to what specifically?
I don't know, generally, because one thing is certain, like me, I'm a videographer. When I go around and I see the way people just hold their phone and take pictures, I'm like, oh God, I wish you knew about this.
Mhm.
Like, is it the same thing for law? Like, you go around and even in parties, you see people doing things, and you're like, are they actually doing that?
I think for me, the thing that I've seen that I wish we would change is our passion tends to be money.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I believe if you have a true passion for something else, the money will come.
Come. Okay.
When your passion is the money, right,
Mm-hmm.
then all you're doing is dancing from one thing to another, trying to pick as many pennies as you can,
Mm-hmm.
right? One of the things that I've loved since coming here is that I see people who, oh, maybe their father used to teach them how to work on an engine and they barely finished high school. But when they handle your car,
Car.
oh my goodness, they know it backwards and forwards. And then you wonder why they live in a huge mansion and, they're doing very well. It's because figure out what your passion is
Yes.
and then follow it with all your heart, all your mind, and you will be successful.
Boss, thank you very, very much. Do you have any questions for me?
Yeah. How long have you been doing this?
Um, Toride, talking to people like close to 15 years now.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it started. I just this passion for wanting to help the community, wanting to, because I used to be a footballer in Cameroon, and then one point in time, I realized, hey, I was at this level, but then there were so many other friends who were more talented than me. Why did they not get to this level? I realized the problem was communication. The problem was information. The problem was either did not get the right information at the right time. So I decided, you know what, if I wanted to do something for the community, it should be starting a media platform where people like you can come sit and just share information. So when I started, it was pathfinders and founders. Pathfinders, as in people who are still finding their way.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk to them.
Yeah.
What are you doing? What's your challenges and all of that? Founders are people like you, an attorney.
Yeah.
How did you get there? You understand? So I just, for me, it was just create a platform where people can, you can sit with people and have conversations. And I was fortunate to have spoken to people like Reverend Nyasako Ninko, he's of late. Yeah.
Okay.
So once he saw the project, it was like, go ahead, do what you have to do. Like, this is something good. So that was how I started talking to people. I would just record the conversation with my phone, or just listen. We just have the conversation. I don't know if I even save everything in my brain.
So
But
you
then,
would say you were someone who helped solve people's problems
yeah,
by communicating.
yeah. So I
So
just
in other words, you should just go and become a lawyer.
that's another thing also. I have a small background in law. I did some few years in UB.
There you go.
Yeah. So, and that's why on Tori Day, when I argue, people they're like, where's you argue too much? I'm like, no, you need to really explain.
Yes.
Yeah, you need to explain. You need to convince me that, okay, this is what I'm saying, or this is what I.
Yeah.
You will not just say anything and I just say, yeah. No, you need to explain. So yeah, that was how it started. And then fortunately I got to the United States. So for me, it was more like, okay, you started with nothing. You're just recording conversations and you transcribe and post on social media. Now you have the resources. Why don't you
Correct.
just buy cameras and buy this stuff, and then you buy, and then you're like, why is my own video not like this person's
Yep.
video? Then you start to learn and learn and learn until we're here today. I hope I answered the question.
You did. I appreciate it. I remember when we first met and you had your camera, and that's one of my biggest hobbies.
Yeah.
I've loved photography and videography, and
Mhm.
I remember us talking and walking through different cameras.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a pleasure.
Boss, thank you very much for coming. Any day,
Thank you.
anytime. Now you are a 3 day consultant. Please don't send me any papers to sign. Yeah, but yeah, I think the community needs you. You're doing a lot already, but we will really want you on the platform to continue building and helping our community.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
Wow. Thank you everyone who was watching. If you have any questions, like I said, comment section or inbox. But watch out, it's going to be an interesting segment every now and then with our brother. I call him Mola Ngale.